We here at Wing Nation love all of our sprint car driving friends. We just love getting to talk to them, whether it's here on the show or whether it's in the pits, or sometimes when we're traveling, we'll see them in the hotel parking lot, or we'll see them at, well, I don't, but some people with our crew will see them at a place like Dingus, places like that.
Yeah, you don't go into
No, would never frequent a place like that. No, never.
Iowa Beer Bus.
Iowa Beer Bus. Someone was teasing.
I know.
Someone was teasing us last week with the Iowa Beer Bus.
Said they missed us, and the feeling is mutual.
Exactly. I mean, that's just not even right. It's like Fair Food Pictures and the Iowa Beer Bus. They were at, that's right, it was the fair race, and we did get food pictures. The ASCS was at Clay County Fair last week, and we got food pictures, and we got the Iowa Beer Bus.
Yeah.
So then I was like, that whole idea of taunting people to send pictures.
You get more upset about the fair food. I was more upset about the beer bus.
I was upset about both of it.
Yeah.
I taunted people to send the pictures, and then I was mad at the people for sending the pictures. So I guess you get what you ask. But we love all of our sprint car racers, and there are those that we have connections with, okay? And, by the way, she's Erin Evernham. I'm Steve Post. This is Wing Nation, presented by Dryden and DRF Racing Oils. We are in the Hercules Tires studio. We have a partnership with Hercules Tire. One of our race driver friends has a partnership with Hercules Tires. We've hung out at tire stores. We've talked about tire stores. We've had a great, great friendship behind the scenes and on the show with Greg Wilson. And the career ride of Greg Wilson is a novel. It's a story.
It really is.
It's a journey.
When I was racing sprint cars, gosh, it was almost 20 years ago now, which is crazy. But he was so dominant in Ohio, and he's just always been such a class character, helpful, friendly. And then to see him, try the outlaw thing in his own team, it's been fun to watch, but at times it's been hard to watch because he's struggled and been through a lot. But to see him win twice this weekend.
This past weekend, he went to Molar with the Fast Series and picked up the win. And then he just went up to Fremont and picked up the win with not only the Fast Series, but all the Fremont regulars, too.
Yep. And I just love that Greg is so open and he's emotional and he talks about the good and the bad. A lot of drivers in general are closed up. And not Greg.
So that's what we're going to do. Here today on the podcast, we are going to talk to Greg Wilson about the good and the bad. And there's a lot of it all, but I like talking about the good and the bad after a good weekend.
Yes, because
It's far nicer because where we sit right now,
it's good.
It's real good. Absolutely. So, and speaking of good, Saturday night, the Dirt Classic 8. Erin, I was at Lincoln Speedway, and speaking of good, man, were they slinging those cars around there, including Zeb Wise and Justin Peck. Here's our buddy Blake Anderson with the call on Flow Racing.
And now for the Dryden death-defying move of the week, where one driver simply amazes us with their on-track moves.
Peck changes lines and goes down to the middle. Wise has a monster run. Zeb Wise takes the lead back once more. Peck leads the lap. Wise slides in front of him. Justin Peck off the bottom. He'll lead down the backstretch.
That death-defying move was brought to you by Dryden Diesel All Death, the official death of the world of outlaws and wheelmen everywhere. Visit Dryden.com for more information.
For decades, Dryden Lubricants has been made in America and made to last, paving the way on our highways, in our fields, and on the production line. Today, Dryden offers a complete line of engine oils, greases, hydraulic and transmission fluids, and diesel exhaust fluid. If you want greater performance and protection for your critical engines and equipment, go to Dryden.com. Dryden, American-owned and operated, and a proud supporter of racing and race fans everywhere. Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTires.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTires.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength. Wing Nation, presented by Dryden and DRF Racing Oils. We're going to the Sage Fruit Hotline. We're in the Hercules Tires studios. We're going to talk to the driver of the Hercules Tires car. Greg Wilson joins us. Hello, Greg. Welcome back to Wing Nation.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having us today.
Greg, on the opening of our show, Erin and I talked about the last few years of your life. Erin actually went back and talked about being scared to go into Ohio because she didn't say scared, okay, but going into Ohio and getting wore out by Greg Wilson. And we talk about it. You're coming off a weekend where you swept the weekend with the Fast Series. Where are you at, Greg? How are you doing?
Well, I mean, obviously after that weekend, a lot better. We've talked on and off through the last few years, and pretty hard to make the decision to try to go drive for somebody else, and mostly, really due to surrounding yourself with people. But so thankful to one, have Hercules Tire, Ohio Logistics, and DNC Hydraulics stand behind me. As we start planning for next year and trying to figure out what we're going to do, to have them involved and just so thankful to have companies like that stand behind you when things aren't good. And it tells me those are the kind of companies you want to be involved with. So thankful for that. But to get the opportunity to drive for Joe and Diane Sealing, and to get to work with Andy Potter, I was so close to starting to think about what I should do away from racing. And the last month and a half, I could kind of sense that we were going the right direction. And, last weekend was kind of an eye-opener, I guess, when I looked myself in the mirror that, you still have the ability to do it.
Greg, when we talked to you at Knoxville, this deal had just come together with Sealing Motorsports and Andy Potter. It certainly looks like it's been strong ever since. But, you talk about getting back to victory lane and to thinking that, you really didn't forget how to do this. Just how satisfying and how rewarding has it been to stand in victory lane and to know, your girls are there watching you, your family, your sponsors that have stuck by you, like you talked about. Like, just how gratifying is that?
Well, I mean, you guys all know I'm a pretty emotional guy, and, just even thinking about it, just sitting here talking to you about it, it truly gets me choked up. I mean, I wear my emotions on my shirt sleeve, and I don't know if that's good or bad sometimes, but, to have my wife and my daughters standing in victory lane, with me, there's really no words. I mean, you're trying to teach your kids, especially from my standpoint in the world that we live in, which sometimes is pretty sad, to work for things and to go after what you dream about, what you want to do, and to go after it. And, to literally get my butt kicked up and down the road all across the country for 5 or 6 years and have them still, be right by my side, and then to be able to win anything, and let alone sweep a weekend in our backyard with a lot of people around. There's just, I don't really have a lot of words other than, just made me feel tremendously good. It's still, I don't know if it sunk in that we actually got back to victory lane, but it's been pretty huge.
I would say pretty huge. Now, Erin asked you the easy question, okay, about winning races and what that's like. I'm going to ask you a little hard question, and because we have shared this journey with you, and we have loved sharing the journey, and there's been moments in the journey that it's been like, oh, we felt for you, we've wanted to give you, we've just wanted, because we have a mutual partner that we love, that you love, and we respect that they're sticking with you. I cannot imagine earlier this year your decision to shut down your own team. How difficult was that? How did that work out with the opportunity the Sealman team put together? What was that like for you, Greg?
Stressful.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I mean, let me back up a little bit. We've talked a lot, but the biggest reason why I needed to do it was, to get to work with somebody like Andy Potter, somebody so talented, somebody that I respected. I knew that I could hop in the car and have, a lot of faith in what he was doing, a lot of confidence. And that's what I felt like was really lacking with our team. But to work that hard and to build something, and to know that there really is no other reason than to, I mean, my stuff is sitting here. It's all together. We're not getting rid of anything. You know how racing can go. There's a lot of peaks and valleys, and you never know what can happen tomorrow. But to literally have to go to the people that made it happen and help make it happen, and to ask them if they would support me in, moving forward and trying to go with another team and telling them, we got to change the colors a little bit. And but I promise you that I feel like from my side of things that this is the right move for my career and getting you guys where you deserve to be, which, is being competitive. I mean, it's not, it is about winning races and being up front, but it's also just being competitive night in and night out. I mean, it's very, very hard to do in today's world racing, and to have them, it took about a week, and that week, I don't know if it was more stressful trying to run my own race team by myself, beating up and down the road, driving the truck, or it was more stressful that week, wondering what they were going to say and if I was making the right decision. And, you just never know. You got to, I don't go around telling everybody how to live their life, but I have a lot of faith in the big guy upstairs. And I spent a lot of time reflecting and asking for some guidance and hoping and praying and having faith that it'll all pan out. Well, sometimes that's just how life works. And, like I said, thankful for the opportunities and thankful that all those people, Hercules Tire, Ohio Logistics, and DNC, the three core people, along with the multiple, product people that have stuck with me. I could go on and on all day, but, Winners Performance, Sharp Advantage, Ultra Shield Speed, Simpson Race Product, and I'm going to miss people, and I apologize. But like all those people believe in me, and, Tim English spent a lot of time, talking to me over the winter about my family and racing and, things that I needed to think about from the driving standpoint and work on and look at. And people like that, it just believed in me and getting them to, making phone calls to them and asking what I should do. And it's been pretty nerve wracking, but wonderful.
Yeah, and I'm excited for you. I really am. You had mentioned getting to work with Andy Potter, and Greg, some of the conversations you and I have had over the last 4 or 5 years, standing alongside of the trailer here and there, are like, I'm this close to being able to get this guy to come work for me. And then whether it's a worldwide pandemic in some instances or you had one deal where the pandemic cost you what you were hoping for. And I go through all of those scenarios where I think I've got this guy, and then someone would come along and have more money or have more of this or have more of that. Whatever happened on that. But I go through all of that to ask the people that to have an Andy Potter. I mean, I think you've known for years you needed that, but just how critical is that in 2021 with a top flight sprint car team?
Well, I mean, if you want to be competitive at the top level, you're talking to a guy that was literally 2 months ago wondering if he should keep racing, wondering, if he could still do it. And I know a lot of guys that have went through it. You've seen it with, I don't know right off the top of my head, but like, I guess one guy that sticks out to me is Joey Saldana. He kind of strode along there a little bit, was about my age. And then you plug him into Ed Neumeister's car with Fisher's once in a while, or the Indy Race Part 71, and they're super competitive again. Shane Stewart, guys I feel like that I have a ton of respect for. I know they didn't forget how to drive race cars, and I was that guy. And so, you make a change to a team that you wonder if you're doing the right thing, but they got the right people, and you need to try this, but you can't manage to plug it into your own deal. And go have success. That's how important it is. I mean, I was barely running top 10 at anywhere, and we immediately within a month and a half win a couple races. And not that we feel like that, is a very humbling experience too. I mean, I know how tough it is. I know that enjoy last weekend, but when we roll into the racetrack on Friday night, it's another new night. Those guys are there to win just like we are, and at the very top level. And we know we still got work to do, and if we want to get. But the cool part about it is Andy just keeps working, and he's having fun right now, and I'm having fun. And like we know we've been around it, both been around enough. So we try to do our best to work together to make it better. And that's what we were lacking. You know, I don't know where this is going to go, but damn, it's sure fun. You know, it's sure rewarding, and it sure feels a heck of a lot better.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Greg, you give Andy Potter so much credit, and obviously, like you said, it was that missing link that you needed. But on top of that, how much has that helped your driving to know when you get in that car that you can be confident and you know the car is going to do what you want it to do?
Well, you know, Erin, you've raced. I mean, the biggest thing, the one thing that, you know, obviously when you're going better, people ask you. And the one thing that when I hopped in the car, I felt like, you know, I was lucky enough to work with Bob Hampshire for a long time. And his relationship and mine were more like father and son. And, you know, I knew with working with like my buddy Bonds a little bit and some other guys that I've been lucky enough to work with here and there, that for doing it so long on my own, that I wasn't going to have a very good vocabulary. And meaning that for the first 3 or 4 weeks, I didn't even talk to Andy a lot. I mean, he even asked me one night about, you know, do you want to know what I'm doing to the car? And I looked at him like, no, I really don't care. And the reason being is I wanted to hop out of the car and say, hey, this thing needs 3 clicks to left rear and shock, or, you know, because that is what I was used to doing. And I needed to get out of the car and tell him, hey, left rear down, you know, we're tight here, or the car won't finish the corner. And honestly, it's taken me as much to figure that out and try to tell him the right things. And yet him also figure out what I want to feel in the race car. And I go back about a month ago that, well, not even a month ago, a few weeks ago at the All-Star race at Attica, we come out of the B main, barely made it. We were both frustrated. I mean, I could see it on his face. We've done it long enough. We don't really chew on each other or scream at each other too much. And I hope that don't happen. But sometimes that's what makes the team work. But anyways, I hopped out of the car and I'm like, Andy, it's not doing this. And then I looked at him and I almost contradicted myself a little bit. And he kind of walked away and walked back and he says, well, it's not going to do that if it doesn't do this. And I looked at him, my eyes probably looked like they're going to pop out of my head. And I'm like, that's exactly it. That is it. We need to make it do that right there. If you make the nights that it's felt like that already, that's when we're good. And, you know, fortunately we go out, we start 24th, we run 6th, past all, you know, a bunch of race cars. And I feel like that was a little bit of the turning point to get us headed the right direction. And, you know, people don't realize how tough that is. You know, I don't know if even as racers, sometimes we realize that having that and having a team and having people that you can work with to make you better and make you look good, make you comfortable, how important that is. And, you know, Andy's opened my eyes up to it even more, you know, from that side of things, which is pretty damn cool.
So it's interesting. You're describing that you're so used to getting out of the car and making the decisions on what changes you're going to make that you actually had to kind of step back and just almost tell him more what you feel and kind of let him make the changes. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, that's what he's there for.
Yeah.
And I knew that going in. That's why for the first 3 weeks, I really didn't, 3 or maybe even 4 weeks, I really didn't say anything. Mm-hmm. You know, I just kind of, you know, I literally would ask him, like, what do you see? Because I always have felt like the one thing that I had with Hamp was Bob could watch a race car, mm-hmm. and a guy that can watch a race car and tell what it's doing is probably way more important than even making all the proper changes all the time. Meaning that if he can see it and that's what you're uncomfortable with behind the wheel, and he can figure out a way to fix it no matter how he fixes it, I feel you're going to go better. Mm-hmm. And I feel like once we got to the point where he started making me feel comfortable, well, then you're going to drive it harder. You're going to make better decisions because you feel like you feel like you can. Mm-hmm. Where before, getting out of the car, you know, you'd second guess yourself, trying to spin wrenches, and you get back in, and you know you probably didn't go far enough, or you second guessed it and you gave away 5 laps, and you know, just a total different way of being a driver.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked about the relationship with Andy, and Aaron's asked you how it's changed as far as a driver, and you've talked a lot about the setup. But over the course of a night, has it allowed you to maybe take a walk out and look at a racetrack, something you may or may not have been able to do, and to just hone in on what you need to do in that moment? Has that allowed you to do that as well?
Oh, it's huge. Yes, you hit the nail on the head. I'm getting to go up and watch. I mean, the other night at Fremont, I went up and watched the non-wing heat races, part of the 305s. Then I went back up and watched the truck races, just to see what it was going to do to the racetrack. And I feel like that really helped. I mean, I had a mental game plan before we rolled out, and maybe what I needed to do or what you could expect, which I never really got to do that for a long time. And it's so many things. I get to spend the time talking to people, which is part of what you need to do when you have partners. I get to spend more time. It's pretty cool. I get to walk up to the racetrack. Livy has all kinds of questions. Lily has all kinds of questions. They've seen their dad race, but they have questions like, well, why are they doing that, Dad? And they get to go, that time. I mean, it's stuff that I took for granted that I never even thought about or worried about. And just having the help, having people around you that are really good at their job allows you to do all those things. It's made life better, period.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing to hear you talk about how it didn't just help your driving; just changed your world in a lot of better ways. Going back to your wins this weekend, Greg, one thing that you mentioned in Victory Lane was not only, was it a big win for you, your family, your sponsors, but it was for all your fans in Ohio. You've always had a huge following there, and they followed you when you were out on the road. How neat was it to win 2 nights in a row in Ohio again for them?
Man, yeah. Now I am getting choked up. People, sometimes I don't know what I want to do when I'm done racing. And I thought for a long time that I've done it my whole life that I should walk away, not for any bad reason, but just to experience other things in life, because racing kind of consumes you, as you guys all well know. But what makes me happy and what makes me want to be involved and do something in racing and raise my family in racing and is the people. It's not all perfect, but damn, there's so many good people that you meet and people that help you and want to see you succeed in life, period. I gave you an example is Roger McLean used to be a race car driver. He helped me, Hamp and I, and he's always been a part of my life since then. But we've kind of reconnected a little bit, and I leaned on him a lot in when I was trying to decide what to do. And he also, I guess, pushed my buttons a little bit and motivated me. But it reminded me how good people are in the sport and how much people want to see you do well. And if you treat people right, and like I've told you guys before, I used to be way more hot-headed than what I am. And I used to be so focused on what I wanted out of it that sometimes I wasn't always the best of people. And I'll be the first to admit it. And, you kind of try to get better at that and, try to learn and be better in life. But the people, damn, they're the ones that help you get through it. And the fans on Saturday night were absolutely unbelievable. And I'm so appreciative for that. I make the comment all the time, even if you're not a Wilson fan, all the people listening, if you never see me race, if you don't know me, give me the chance. But gosh darn it, I appreciate it either way. Because if we didn't have fans that if we didn't have fans that, no different than other pro sports that were, rivals and they had their own drivers, we wouldn't get to do what we love to do, period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it takes all of those, and it takes a win on the home turf at Fremont sometimes to let them all be able to scream and holler and carry on. Greg, before we say catch up with you down the road here, what's the next few weeks? I know there's a couple of your favorite tracks, or at least one coming up this weekend. The All-Stars are at. What's on the docket for you coming up here?
Well, I mean, our schedule, with what we kind of originally kind of put into play early in the year, we left for open weekends because obviously I was planning on running my own team, and we knew we were undermanned or whatever. So, like, to finish the year out, for sure, we'll, big weekend this weekend at Eldora, be a good gauge to see where we're at as a team. We get 2 nights, one with the Outlaws, one with the All-Stars. And then probably a week, I guess, around home, Attica or an Atomic or something. Not Attica, I'm sorry. Fremont or an Atomic or something the next week. And then we come right back with the Jim Ford Classic, which is a big 2-day weekend right at Fremont Speedway. So that's kind of, we've been working pretty hard at just taking it day to day. And when we have open weekends, we try to look at where we're at, and we try to figure out, like, if that's something we really need to concentrate on to make us better for down the road. So right now that's the plan. The girls are back in school, which has been, a big life change at the Wilson household, being up at 5:30 in the morning, which doesn't fit in any sprint car racers time frame. But so we've tried to stick a little closer to home to finish the year out, to keep the family all headed the right way and racing the right way, and just take it a day at a time.
Have the girls now readapted back to normal school after a couple of years on the road with homeschooling on the road? Have they kind of fallen into the routine now with normal traditional school?
Yeah, and for the most part, to be honest with you guys, we've talked about this a lot. Livy is a lot more social than Lily is. Yeah. Lily's a little older. We were a little concerned about Lily going back to school and interacting with kids, and which was one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to get both of them back in. She's transitioned well. Now, Livy struggled a little bit the first couple of weeks. She was wanting to go to the races, race shop, blah, 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 blah. But the funny part was, is she comes home one day and she looks at me and her mom. She's like, I just don't know about these kids. And we're like, okay, here comes the adult Livy speaking to us. And she looks at us and she says, this one kid sitting beside me 2 days in a row now. He cries for no reason. This sissy is crying because he wants his mom. She's like, what's wrong with these kids? And I'm like, oh, Liv, this is the part of you growing up in an adult-natured world. You're just a little further along. We had to sit her down and explain to her. Yeah. And since then, it's gotten a lot better, and sure, she's flowed in a little better. But we're waiting for that day that she, she's seen a lot of things and heard a lot of things at the races, and we're waiting for that day that we get the phone call that she may or may not have actually told a teacher off because she was done with that, and it was time to move on to something else. But fortunately, we haven't had that so far.
Who'd you learn that from? My babysitter, Paul Sides. That's what I learned it from.
Yeah. Right, exactly. You guys get it. Yeah. So, but so far, it's been pretty cool. The first. Like I said, you guys know how close we are. Yeah. So it's been a little bit tough transition for me and Kinsey. We were at the shop one day by herself, and she was kind of throwing stuff at me and picking at me while I was leaned over working on something. I said, hey, listen, just because them kids are gone doesn't mean we have to like each other again. I mean, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. I'm lucky that we're best friends, but it's really been a change for us too. Yeah. The first couple of days, heck, I literally couldn't take it. I mean, I fell apart a couple of times because I'm so used to having them around. It's weird. Yeah. But to see them come home and smile, and have their own life and smile and be so happy, it's all been worth it.
Yeah, I'm facing a potential January empty nester situation, and while that sounds really, really good. And there's a lot of ways I want my kids to do well, and one's in college and one's thinking about moving to Asheville, and that sounds great. I have a hunch by about 10 a.m. on that first day, I'm going to be a blubbering idiot with no kids, and what do I do with all of this?
Yeah, well, that's like me and Kate's first day at kindergarten. I dropped her off. She got out fine. She walked in.
She was good, Mom.
I went to call Ray, and I didn't even mean to. All of a sudden, I just broke down. He's like, you're crying? Yeah. Like, yes, she just went off and didn't even need me.
She didn't even need me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so great stuff.
Though, isn't it crazy, though, in today's world, I feel like that racing families, what I'm learning, even going to school and some functions we've already had to be a part of, how close racing people, their families are.
Yeah.
I mean, not all, but for the most part. That's why that's what's so cool about it, in my opinion. But
you have got a relationship with your daughters that very few in that school have.
Absolutely.
And that is, and
they'll
that
have
is
those
all
memories
good.
forever.
Yes, exactly. Even when they call and say she went Paul sides on her teacher. So
can't wait for your parent-teacher conference.
Yeah, obviously you guys are in the same boat, or you wouldn't have felt that way. And Steve, you're going to feel that way.
Oh, I'm going to be a
here
mess
in January. And you know, like I said, I'm glad people noticed that. You know, I probably would. If you ask my mom and dad, just like any kid, I probably wasn't always the best kid, but I've tried to be as good or better parent than mine, and I don't know if I could ever do that, but you know, I'm trying pretty darn hard. Me and my wife are trying pretty hard to raise our kids right.
Same here, that's for sure. Greg, always a pleasure. Congratulations on the success. Love chatting with you. Love seeing your smiling face in Victory Lane and then chatting with you here on Wing Nation.
Yeah, thank you guys so much again for having us. Thanks to our partners at Hercules Tire and Ohio Logistics and DNC for sticking by us. And you know, hopefully we'll be back on here pretty soon.
There we go. Let's hope. Thanks for the time, Greg.
All right, thank you.
How about that, boy? I'm telling you what, that is passion 101 right there. Just such an amazing person, amazing family.
Yeah.
And to see them come up and have the weekend they had, just when he won Moeller, I was at Williams Grove, or I think I saw it at Williams Grove, or got back to the hotel, and I saw it, and I was just, my heart was just full of happiness, full of joy, because I know what it means to Greg.
You know what he's been through.
And then I was, when I found out he won the next night, I'm like, no, I'm reading last night's results, and I'm like, wait a minute, back to back.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is just awesome. They just don't come any better than Greg Wilson.
No, he's earned it.
Fun stuff, that's for sure. Over the years, Dryden has stood for uncompromised value and proven performance. Known as the hardest working brand in heavy-duty lubrication, Dryden's heritage is made in America and made to last. Dryden products work to increase the life and enhance the efficiency of your equipment in the toughest conditions. Learn more about Dryden's products at Dryden.com. From grassroots racing to NASCAR, Dryden is a proud supporter of racing everywhere. For a year-round high-quality eating experience, look no further than Sage Fruit apples, pears, and cherries. Not only is their produce healthy, but they are grown with such care and precision that you can count on each piece of fruit having exceptional flavor. Sage Fruit, it's our first choice for quick and easy snacking. Get back into NASCAR's roots by driving headfirst into the new home of grassroots racing. Flow Racing keeps the original NASCAR tradition of dirt track racing roaring with more than 1,300 live and on-demand oval races from across the United States. Subscribe today by going to flowracing.com/MRN. Learn how the next generation of NASCAR drivers is prospected in sprint car racing, or watch the thrill of last lap slide jobs. Subscribe today by going to flowracing.com/GoMRN. Wing Nation, presented by Dryden and DRF Racing Oils. Let's take a look at the calendar. Starting to shrink down a little bit. We've got some races, but we're not pages and pages worth of races. World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars, thank God they're back on the East Coast so we can stay up. Yes, all of us. Well, you know, Greg talked about it. I'm an early riser, naturally.
Yeah.
You're, of course, dealing with Kate getting to school. He's talking about getting up with kids at school. I'm telling you, this sprint car life and early risers don't matter.
It doesn't go with normal people's lives.
This past weekend in Pennsylvania, because I'm awake no matter what I do at 7 or 7:30. Well, then the problem is when you're hanging out on Beer Hill and places like that, and that just cuts into the beauty sleep, you know. So, World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars, Eldora Speedway, before the Crown Showdown, and on that Friday night, Saturday night, the Commonwealth Clash at Lernerville. Central Pennsylvania, the month of money continues. It moves up to Selinsgrove Speedway, $20,000 on the line, the Jim Nace Memorial National Open at Selinsgrove. Friday night, Williams Grove has an Outlaw Tune-Up Show. IRA bumper-to-bumper sprints, Friday night, Dodge County Raceway, and Saturday night, the Plymouth Dirt Track Wisconsin Sprint Car Championships in Sheboygan. Yes, indeed. Eldora on, I love this. This is one of those that I'd like to catch sometime. The Four Crowns races Saturday night, USAC Silver Crown Sprints, Midgets, and the All-Star Circuit of Champions. Boy, that'd be a good show, that's for sure. Houston, Saturday and Sunday, NOSA Sprints on their cheater days. King of the West, the Jim Turner Memorial on Saturday night at Keller Auto Speedway. Other racing action, the Ohio Valley Sprint Car Association is at Skyline Speedway on Friday, at Atomic Speedway on Saturday, Fremont, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania Motor Speedway, Wayne County, and St. Francis have racing going on. And Erin, if everything aligns up, I'm going to see some sprint cars again this weekend.
At one of my favorite
Oh,
tracks.
I'm going up to Bulls Gap Friday night. My buddy Pete Walton's up there, and I'm going to watch Danny Smith and Terry Gray race. Now, you want to talk about living right. When you want to talk about living right, when you get to watch Danny Smith and Terry Gray race,
It's a good weekend.
it's a good weekend. So that's what I'm looking to do. We have with MRN one of my favorite races of the year on Saturday night, the NASCAR late model stock race, the Valley Star Credit Union 200, 300, 200. I think it's 200, yeah. I hope it's 200, not 300. No, it might be because they have the heat races, so sometimes it's the 300. They count the heat races into it. It's not, but it's one of my favorites, late model stock racers here. So I'm going to do a little Bulls Gap Martinsville action.
Yeah,
not a combination that a lot of people pull off.
Kind of like it, though.
I love it. It's going to be a great, great weekend, that is for sure. So, hey, that's a reminder for you to get out to your local sprint car track. Yes, get out and check out the sprint car racers. They'll put on a good show for you, that is for sure. If you're at Eldora this weekend, go to the All-Star Circuit of Champions trailer and get your Wing Nation gear. If you can't get it there or can't make it there, go to wingnation.com. We are active and live on social media. Our YouTube channel has all of these interviews. Facebook and Twitter has all the interaction back and forth. So great catching up with Greg Wilson.
It always is.
Always is. Yeah, inspiring guy.
Really good guy.
Really is. Fun stuff, that's for sure. Speaking of fun stuff, coming up this weekend, Wing Nation, the television program presented by Sage Fruit, Hunter Schurenberg. What a great visit Ashley and I had with Hunter Schurenberg. So you're going to want to make sure you catch that. That's this Saturday morning on MAV TV. Thanks again to Greg Wilson, but more important than all of that, thank you for joining us here on Wing Nation, presented by Dryden and DRF Racing Oil.